And welcome back to another episode of Getting Creative With, the show where AADL staff engage with an arbitrarily chosen topic to stay playful, stay inspired, and, well, creative. And my name is Ksenia. With me today are AADL staff members Aurora, Mackenzie, Stephanie, and Marianne. And this week's theme is eatables, comestibles, victuals, foodstuffs. Aurora, how did you fare with this theme?
Well, with the pandemic, I thought it would be, I heard a lot about the sourdough starters bread. So I was trying my hands on it a while back. So first I have to make my own sourdough starters, which with yeast and water, and you put it in a jar and you let it sit 24 hours. You discard half and you keep adding another half a cup of flours with a quarter cup of water. And you're gonna let it rise to this process for about 7 to 10 days until you proof your starters, which you take the starter when it's bubble and put it on the water and it flow. That means you're good to go for baking your bread. So this is my sourdough starters in a jar, which I fed yesterday. So normally you could discard it half and then make another batch continually. And this already been proofed. This is a mature one. I put it in my refrigerator for about more than a week because I don't want to bake every day because I hate to waste all the discard stuff. So I have that. And so I bake my loaf of bread with the sourdough starter with my sourdough bread. So that's my bread and that's my eatable. It's really simple, the recipe. Once you get your sourdough starters going, you just need about half a cup of your sourdough starters and 4 cups of your flours and then 2 cups of waters. But the process when you kneading it, which is probably take a little time because every half hours you gotta let it rise and then you knead it about 4 times and then you let it sit in the oven for rise about 8 to 10 hours. And then once you do that, you shape the dough into a round and then you put in a refrigerator for minimum about an hour to 2 hours. It could be longer. And then then you could put it in a Dutch oven, a Dutch cast iron oven with a lid to bake it for half an hour. And you could I slit the top for the design for the dough so that it get the design on it. And then you bake it for half an hour. You take the lid off for 15 minutes. You bake it like that, and then afterward you bake it for about 3 minutes, and that's how you get your bread. So I learned a lot through the pandemic how to make the bread. I'm not a baker, so normally, but this is a nice way to have a fresh bread. And I bake my bread for this Thanksgiving dinner, so that's what's my contribution for that.
It looks great, Aurora. I tried doing bread too. And I've had some success and some not success. Yours looks beautiful. Have all of yours turned out nicely?
I would say this is my many try. The very beginning, I was not successfully even produce the sourdough starter because they say you have to be very patient with it. You wait for it rise and to prove it. I have many batch that I was keep proving it didn't prove. Mine actually took about 25 days to actually mature to proof. And after that, once you have a batch that you prove, then it's good to go.
Okay.
Go from there. So, yeah.
It's a really big commitment to, start something in a jar and then keep it around and grow it for about a month or so.
Yeah, it is. It is. But it's fun because in a sense that I didn't have to rely on anywhere else. It's always going to be sit in my house now that I have it for baking. bread.
Did you find I found the day that you're sort of prepping it. I kind of had to make sure I had the day sort of open because it felt like all day long I was kind of waiting to be doing something, like the stretching took, you have to do it and then you wait a half an hour, then you do that. So I sort of felt like there was a big commitment on the day before I would bake it, actually.
Well, this recipe that I really like because it actually, you could start anytime, but you have to commit about 4 hours because you have nailed it. Once you do that, I usually leave it in my oven and sit it with the wet cloth, cover it for about 8 hours. So I go to bed. Next morning, I get up, I shake the dough, and then I put it in the refrigerator for about 2 hours before I bake it. So in a way, it's a commitment of the day, but kind of a little bit more manageable for me because I always do my kneading for about 4 hours and let it rise and then freeze it next day in the morning and bake it in the morning. Then I get a loaf of bread.
Okay, that's where our recipe directions differ a little bit because I think with what the one I was doing was, I think you put it in your bowls overnight and then you baked it in the morning. I can't remember. It's been a little time, but I didn't do leaving it in the oven. That might be a better solution.
I think because especially with the room temperatures a lot colder now, I think that I find it is much more controllable when you put it in an oven and leave the lights on, and that overnight it guarantee a rise the bread, and then you just shake it back up.
Oh, good.
So just the ambient light from the oven will keep it nice and warm.
And even for when you're doing the starter, if like right now it's too cold to leave your starter, sometime to make one to beginning with, for it to have a cultures develop, you would put it with the light in the oven too. That will help it for the starter to rise itself.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Oh my goodness. So will you never look at a loaf of bread the same way ever again? Because that's just...
I always used to buy bread in the store, but with the pandemic for a while there, you couldn't get any yeast or flours and for longest time. And then my daughters persuade me that this is really easy to do. And I was like, really? But it is true, after you get a hang of it, it's not that bad. But in the beginning, it's a little bit patient and you're waiting. Every time I have a problem, I always call her up. I say, why is this doing that? Is this supposed to be? And she said, yes. And, so.
Well, it looks beautiful. Like it itself just looks like a sculpture after you finished it. It looks like a big like onion or something. It's very pretty.
Well, I think it's always nice to have fresh bread come out oven and then eat it. That's the best, I think, to be having it. So.
Well, and then what do you plan on using the bread for? Do you pretty much just like have it daily, or are you preparing or saving it for something particularly special, or is you just like...
No, actually my son, he would eat it every day if I bake every day. My husband, he liked the smaller one, which is this one. This is the smaller one, and he wanted to cut it the top off and put onion soup in it with cheese and bake it. Like like they do, or like some restaurant they put even like clam chowder or something in it. So he prefers smaller. Meanwhile, my son prefer bigger loaves. So it doesn't last that long in my house. They both eat, so it's just in about a couple of days.
Nice. It's a good thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much. I've been wondering about the whole sourdough thing. Like I don't bake bread. I don't eat bread. Like just because I don't eat grains or flour or anything like that. So I just don't really do it very often. But this is a really cool insight, and I've heard it's like an art form, and the way you described it is truly just it indicates that it definitely kind of art form.
In the beginning, because you have to understand how you feel the dough, your hand, how to feel it. In the beginning, my dough was not as successfully as that. But then you got the more you're into it, you could get the feel of it, the bread and stuff. And also nice things about baking your own bread is you don't have to worry about chemical or other stuff in it. And there is only, like I said, just the starter, the flours, and the water. That's all you need. You don't even need butters or anything like that too. But most of the time I put like spice in it, like make a seasoning to make the bread a little more tastier. That's about as natural as get. So
all right, cool. Well, thank you for that. It's really inspiring. Like it itself is just a form of art. Okay, it looks like I am next. I always forget where I am in the order, so pardon me. So I had a few failures this last week or so, which is fine, because I learned a bunch. So I found an artist who is able to make like this parchment paper thin vegetable sculpture. She like makes bowls and things like that. And I wonder if I could do that. So I tried it with purple potatoes, and my mandolin did not slice it thin enough, and I did not have dexterity to slice it myself by hand. So like, okay, well, I'll just press it. It didn't really work. The potatoes dried out. They turned brown. It was, it was, you know, kind of gross. So then I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll just make like a paper mache type bowl just with potatoes. Because it's really beautiful. Like the purple color is fantastic. Well, I ended up with like this really very delicious smelling and delicious tasting, apparently, salt and vinegar, potato chip flavored bowl. But again, it was like brown, and it was very easy to do. It was just potatoes, salt, vinegar, and yeah, flour. Just I kneaded it and I pressed it between two bowls. Again, not particularly pretty, but very functional. So then I figured, well, I've been wanting to try this printing technique called gyotaku for years now. And what it is printing fish, legitimate fish. And it's a Japanese art form that was born out of fishermen's sort of desire to catalog and track and just kind of show off the catches that they've made when they were out at sea. It eventually turned into its own kind of art form, but that was sort of like the check on the big fish stories. So I got some whole tilapia and mackerel. I haven't done the mackerel yet, and some muslin, and I made some prints of the fish. So I made a few of them here, just like of the head. The detail captured was really quite spectacular to me. And I didn't do it the legitimately like traditional way. Like I used muslin rather than rice paper, and I used some watered down acrylic paint rather than ink. But the entire, the process was the same. I painted it on and pressed the muslin around the contours of the fish. Oh, that was upside down. And let it dry. So my project this week was gyotaku. Finally, I got to try it. And then, yes, the fish is edible afterwards because it was just like water-based paint, and I could just scale it.
That's really cool.
Yeah, they're beautiful. I used to teach, and I partnered up with a kindergarten teacher one time, and our kids all did that on T-shirts.
Wow.
And did you guys use real fish?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, and they used bright colors. They were like reds and oranges, and it was lovely. Yeah,
I know that
again, but I've always wanted to.
The library has hosted Japan Week, and I participated in that the one year, but we used these like plasticky fish, so people weren't pressing real fish. But I did that with the plastic fish, and it was really cool. But I've never done that with real fish. It's really neat.
Yeah, a job to do that at the library with,
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was the right option for that location. Yeah.
What are you gonna do with them, Senya? Are you gonna frame them or just use them? How are you gonna use them?
Yeah, so I have never actually mounted fabric before or really displayed it. So my thinking was I might just go ahead and just treat the edges and then stick a dowel rod here up in the top through a loop and hang it up in the kitchen, obviously, because that's where. But I think that's what I would like to do. However, if you have any suggestions about how to display pieces of fabric with this, I would love them because I don't really know what I'm doing with it. So
I've in the past just gone, I think I used to get them at the sewing center out on Jackson Road. I don't know if they're still there, but you can get like the wooden frames and then just with the staple gun, stretch your fabric over it and staple it together on the frame.
You could also try an embroidery hoop.
yeah, it's a really good point. Oh yeah, but like in a fishbowl.
Yeah, that's great actually.
Or you can actually do like the Japanese, they do instead of doors in the hallway, they a lot of time hang a rod to the doors with the curtains. So since you have so many, you could, make it into like a doorway curtains for you go transition to one room to another. Because the Japanese, that's what they do, a lot of them. With the design. It's a thought.
This is why I love this weekly meeting. You solve all my problems. Nice. But yeah, some of the examples that I saw are just like absolutely stunning. Like people will do an octopus, or they'll painstakingly do different colored inks on the fish. I've even read of a technique where people glue on silks and other sorts of texture enhancing materials onto the fish, and then print something more detailed and more thickly and richly covered in embellishment, basically, based on what fabric they use to sort of embellish the fish. And yeah, I thought it was so cool, like to be able to have the fish and yes, eat it afterward, but also just have the moment with it where like I got to sort of I got to pay attention to all the details of it, like the eye, the jaw. It's just, I love fish anatomy. It's just, I think it's stunning. So the aesthetic to me was just very fun to sort of capture. I'm also very bad at drawing fish, so that was a plus. But anywho, so Mackie, hey, what have you done this week?
So my original idea didn't pan out, specifically because my spouse was not interested in helping at all. So I was scrambling to make something this morning, so I baked. I didn't fry. I baked donuts.
Oh.
So
Wow.
if I can get them to hold up.
Wow. That's amazing.
I found a donut baking pan. And so there was a little bit of oil because I had to grease them, but otherwise it was 10 minutes in this pan and they came out these little round donuts and they're all very cute. And I decorated them with chocolate and sprinkles. Some of them with sprinkles.
Have you gotten a chance to try them yet?
They're good. I think I would do a different recipe. This one's a little bready, and I think that's my fault because in the recipe it specifically says you use cake flour and don't overmix, and I am fairly confident I overmixed. But yeah,
They're really pretty.
They're pretty.
yep, they're coated in chocolate, so like melting chocolate. Dip them and then scramble to put sprinkles on because it turns out when you do that, the chocolate hardens within about 30 seconds. I didn't know that when I started. Yeah, and I found these really big sprinkles. And so yeah.
So what's in the recipe then for the donut itself? Flour?
It was cake flour. There is 3/4 cup sugar, half a teaspoon of nutmeg, 2 tablespoons of baking powder. 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 tablespoons of butter. I keep switching them. 1 teaspoon salt, 2 eggs, and 3/4 cup buttermilk.
Wow.
And they bake at 375, 10 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Would you experiment with different flavors in the future?
Yeah, I would probably add cinnamon. Definitely make it a stronger cinnamon flavor. I could go chocolate. I would want to find a recipe that's a little less sensitive towards mixing because it's they're clearly overmixed and I didn't do that much. So
Yeah, you could
Also-
even add like fruit into there, like blueberries or something.
probably. I don't know how well they'll well, given the consistency of the batter, it came out like a sticky dough. So I could, if I wanted to roll it out, I could kind of mold it.
Mm.
So I guess you could stick fruit into it. Also, cake flour is really hard to find right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I imagine, yeah.
I got mine at the bulk store on South Industrial.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I get mine at the bulk store on South Industrial.
I haven't been there.
Yeah,
Place.
pretty good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You could also try Walmart. They have the Swanson cake flour mix.
Yeah.
That's,
My go-to is Myers. It's the closest, and then I went to Myers and Target, and we tried a Kroger's nearby, and it was all gone.
yeah, they don't have it. I was looking for cake flours a while back, and the only place I find it is Walmart, and they sell
Yeah.
them.
Baking.
Definitely been my limiting factor on different recipes. I found a recipe for souffle pancakes, which looked amazing and I wanted to try, but it required cake flour and I was like, no, I'm not hunting around for that and I don't own it.
All-purpose generally works.
Mhm.
It's for donuts though, you want a tender dough, so you want it to crumble a little bit more. And
Mhm.
cake flour helps because it has less gluten than all-purpose and regular, and gluten is what causes structures in baking.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much about flour today. This is fantastic. I never get to do this.
Not out there.
What was your inspiration behind the decorations that you did?
Kind of holiday. I picked like white and blue for just winter, and then red and green and the sprinkles to go kind of with Christmas.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, they remind me of wreaths. That's why I asked, because I've been seeing a lot of them around.
Yeah. This one specifically came out like a wreath.
Yeah, totally. Well, big plans for your donuts then? Are you going to have them with coffee later or anything like
I
that?
have no idea. I might be sending some to my husband's work because I made a lot because it took a lot of donuts to actually get some really cute, perfect ones.
Aw.
So I have like 24 in my
goodness.
kitchen. I sent you a picture with what it is, how many on the cooling rack.
There needs to be like, you know, those posts that they put on Instagram, like, oh, Instagram versus reality. I want to see like your perfect little sculptural pile of donuts and like just the massive mountain that you have.
I
somewhere.
sent you those 2 pictures. Those are the 2 pictures I have.
Oh, so fun. Well, enjoy the donuts. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. All righty. Well then, Marianne, hi there.
Hi. Well, I got to say, this was a challenging theme. And so when I started Googling unusual eatables, everything was just so gross and disgusting. There was no way I was going to do it. But I did, one thing that came up was bento boxes. And I've always kind of been interested in them. So I got a book out of the library, this one, because it looked just, it's face food. And so I was flipping through it and I came up, this is Spa Woman.
Oh,
Now, I want to talk about kind of disasters. These are really hard to do, I learned. So I did one yesterday and I sent pictures of it to friends and family. And they were just like, oh my God, Mom, you cannot show anybody that because it's just hideous. So I do have a picture of it. And I did another one today. So I hope I don't freak you out too badly because it is pretty, I don't know, scary.
hit
So
us
this
with
is
it.
her.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Oh, that's pretty good actually.
Great.
Okay, I'm going to show you the picture of yesterday's
Uh-huh.
because I learned a lot. So this is the one yesterday. And I mean, it was just, wow. I had a good laugh anyway. So yeah, I just, it's really a process. In this particular one, I had to get, well, the other thing was I searched everywhere for directions on how to do this particular spa woman, and there's none anywhere. There's lots of photos, and this particular woman, Amaret Dye, is very well known, I think, for her bento boxes. So all I had was what ingredients she used. So I went and got, so there's cheese. I just got some provolone cheese, turkey breast, corned beef, fruit roll-ups. And then I had to decide how to make like the green, the mask, spa mask thing. And so I just got an avocado and mayonnaise and mixed it up and just kind of hoped for the best. Oh, and cucumbers. I realized the cucumbers don't use big ones because when the eyes were so big, it just looked like an alien. Like it was just really scary. And for her earrings, I used blueberries yesterday, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that ever again. So anyway, on this one, the one I did today, what I learned, let me just tilt my camera a bit, is you need a background. Because yesterday I didn't put a background on, and with just the white plate, it really got lost in it. And then I realized that it's easiest to sort of start with your bottom layer and work your way up. So that was a little bit more helpful today. But yeah, I ended up actually eating yesterday. So I did a lot of snacking while I was making it. And it's really, I think, a very intricate kind of art. So
How did you?
Oh,
sorry.
go on.
Zoom meetings, right? How did you end up, like, did you plan it out before you did it, or did you just adjust as you went? Because it looks so like symmetrical. I can't imagine.
Yeah, I really like when I say I learned a lot yesterday, I learned a lot on my first one. And yeah, I realized that you're best to take your whole piece of whatever and just cut it from there. I used kitchen scissors to do a lot of the cutting. And after yesterday, I had a much better perspective on the size and the size of the shapes and everything. So, and I went through a lot of cheese and a lot of turkey. Yeah. It was fun though, it's just like something I've always been intrigued by. I visited Japan quite a few years ago, and the things in this book like are just, I can't even imagine, what it takes to make these. Like Spa Woman was probably the easiest. That's why I went for it. But yeah, it's an art. It is definitely an art. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always been intrigued by those really artsy bentos. I've never tried to do quite that. I've tried to do like, just a simple lunchbox type of bento, and then I find that it takes a lot of different types of food.
Yeah. It's
usually for a lunch, I would pack, leftovers or something. When I would try and make a bento type lunch, it would be, a quarter cup of this and a quarter cup of that. And it's just a lot of different dishes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also a lot of the Japanese, they like a lot of very intricate stuff, and they even their candies, some of them have face in it, and it's very, the workmanship that they have, the people, that skill, it's really intricate.
Yeah. Yeah. It
really is impressive.
very
Yeah.
deep appreciation for it. Yeah. Yeah.
You're not only handling like the texture and the color of the food, but you also have to know how to draw I mean, yeah, technically, yeah, you really do.
Yeah. And you have to use your real spatial kind of,
Yeah.
and that's not one of my strong points. So it was, but you really have to sort of think it out and measure it out and try and retry. And yeah. And I've realized now that I never did like fruit roll-ups. And now I even don't.
What's the background of
the smell and
your
the
face?
texture and they're just awful.
Oh, I like fruit roll-ups.
Oh, I just threw them all away. I should have given them to you.
I think it's a little bit of nostalgia factor for me. I had them when I was in elementary school, so.
Yeah.
What's the background made of?
That's one of the fruit roll-ups, just the spread right out. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought that was lox or something like that.
Yeah.
That would be nice, because I did find the problem with the fruit roll-ups. I mean, it's also artificial, that when I was putting things on top of it, it would sort of seep through the food, the coloring. So that became a little bit of an issue too, but eventually it all gets covered up pretty much anyway. So.
So did it taste all the better for all of the work that you've put into it?
Well, yes. Yeah. When I ate yesterday's, the avocado stuff was delicious. So I just got out some chips and ate all of that. And I just sort of ate it all. Today, I'm not so much. This one's not gonna.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that looks like a blast, honestly. Do you think you might be trying another one at some point?
I would do another one, but probably I would go for something much more simple. I would not, I think this is more just for people to look at and to appreciate how it's done, not to actually try them. That's probably why there aren't directions in it, but I might try something a little more simple next time. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think it'd be really fun to like do a bento box, like a themed week or something like that, where like everyone at AADL who participates will just do like their version of a particular theme in a bento box. I would love that so much. Fun things would come from that. All right. Well, cool. Thank you for that, Mary. It was so fun. Steph, hey, what have you got for us this week?
Yeah, so I made I didn't make a bento, but I made something that might go in a bento if it was done better than what I did. So I made anari sushi, which are these little tofu pouches that you stuff with rice, seasoned rice. And then I put faces on them. And I had planned to make them look like snowmen or chickens, because that's what I found on Google. And they looked super cute. But when I tried to make the snowman or chicken, it looked terrifying. So this is what I ended up with. So, I think this guy's kind of cute. Sweet face. This one's probably, if I can pick him up, probably can't. Probably the best.
Wow, that's cute.
Oh well.
That's cute.
And I tried doing like faces and arms with different things. So these guys got green onion arms and peas for an eyes, and I think there's an olive for a mouth, but he looks a little silly. And then this guy has got cheese to be like the little cheeks. Can't really see it, but yeah, so it's just these pre-made tofu pouches that you open up and stuff with rice, and it comes with a seasoning packet for the to put in the rice. Sugary, it's like sugar water almost with something else mixed in, and then like sesame seeds and dried bits of carrot for seasoning, which I've made that before, and that's quite easy because you just make rice and mix the seasoning in and then stuff it into these pre-made pouches. But adding the faces was a bit more challenging than I thought it would be.
They're cute. They're really cute.
Thanks.
Have you made little scenes with them yet or anything like that?
No, that would be great.
Gosh. How do they taste?
I haven't tried these yet, but I've had these before and they taste good.
Mhm.
And you can buy them in the grocery store pre-made, which is how I found out about them. And then I was like, I want to make those at home.
Aw.
So,
Do they take long to do?
no, well, the faces took forever. Yes. They do make special punches that you can get, like a hole punch that you can put the seaweed in and punch out a face, and then you just fill it on the rice. But I didn't buy one of those, so trying to cut the seaweed out with kitchen scissors and actually get them to stick, which I used honey as a glue to get them to stick on, worked okay. So that took quite a while, but the actual like making of the inari sushi was really easy because you just open the tofu pouch, squeeze out the excess water, make rice, mix the rice in with the seasoning and stuff it. It is a little bit delicate. You want to make sure you don't like tear a hole in the tofu. But if you do, like, doesn't matter because you're going to eat it anyways. So.
Yeah, or have that be part of the character of a little piece that you're making.
Yeah.
That's so.
Did you snack as you were making them? Did you find that you were like eating as
Yeah.
you cooked?
Also, I ate a lot of cheese, and I was trying to use olives as like a mouth or eyes or something, and that didn't quite work out. But I did eat half a jar of olives, so.
That's commendable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Olives are good.
Wow. I had no idea they made like actual little like hole punches specifically for cutting out seaweed shapes. Like that is the function, the marketed function of the hole punch.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, fantastic.
Unfortunately, it was $12
Mm.
a punch, and I was like, oh, I can do that myself. That was not true.
Mhm. I suppose there's a reason why they're available for sale.
Yes.
Oh wow, it's so fun. So you said you found them by just going through a store and seeing like the pre-made ones and then wanting to make them yourself?
Yeah, so I sometimes would buy sushi from Kroger. And I was trying to find a fishless option one time, and I was like, oh, this looks interesting, and they were tasty. So I decided to see if I could make them myself, and I went to, there's a few different Asian markets around Ann Arbor, and I found these at, I think, all of them. And it wasn't expensive. This was 28 pouches, and it was $6.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wow, beautiful.
And they're in the frozen, the refrigerator or freezer section, depending. I did find them in a can one time, but I did not try that.
Huh.
I don't know how that would work. So
I think the can one is already kind of edible, so you just open it.
it
Yeah.
already has the rice in there.
No, just the skin. So you
Oh,
just
okay.
yeah. Oh, you mean the whole thing in the can? I mean, I usually
I don't
see-
know. I don't know what it was. It was a can on the shelf, but it was also like double the price as the refrigerated ones. So I decided not to get that kind.
because usually the skin that you talking about, they do come in a can that you could buy. with that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've only bought the refrigerated or frozen kinds.
Nice.
But-
Well,
and
I
that's nice because they come with the seasoning. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also really just appreciate that, I don't know, you have like these little triangular shaped tofu skins, and that sort of limits you or makes you sort of think about what would go with that triangular shape or how to incorporate it best into whatever scene you're making. So I really just appreciate that kind of stuff that, I don't know, like this whole week's theme has been really about sort of sensitizing yourself to how to best make something work either chemically or aesthetically, you know, in the way of bread baking or the bento box. So I really just love that kind of stuff. It limits you to a certain sort of aesthetic in a way, or certain choices, but it's just, it makes you become really creative with the food that you're using. So yeah, the track is just fun.
Yeah.
Nice. So I'm assuming you have more of these left over. Will you be doing any more of the little tofu skins, or are you just gonna eat them?
So I've stuffed all of them with rice, and that's gonna be my dinner tonight, but I'm not going to be making more faces.
Nice. Got it. Cool. All right, you guys. Wow. Well, thank you for inspiring me, as always, to become really creative with my food, apparently. And now I have this overpowering urge to make a bento box landscape scene. So this is fantastic. Great. All right. Well, thank you for being here, for presenting all your projects, and I will see you guys around.